Hi, everybody. We're back today with another episode of Howie's Hometown Heroes, where we feature business owners, entrepreneurs, and community members who are doing extraordinary, amazing things in their community. Today, we're near Corning, New York, by the Finger Lakes. It's a beautiful area. I've been there vacation a couple of times, and now Lisa gets to be there like forever. What an awesome thing. So I've known Lisa for, I think we just figured out 17 years. Oh my gosh. So we've been great friends, and we love her, and she's really terrific. Now, she is a productivity and accountability coach, right? A podcast called Positively Living. She's been doing this for 7 years. This is amazing to me. 130 episodes, 18,000 downloads all over the world. People are flocking to speeches and keynotes that she does everywhere, online, in person, everywhere. She'll be on the moon soon for all we know. So it'll be fun. Anyway, the point of this is she follows her own advice. Recently moved a couple of years ago, from near where I am now, all the way across the state, hundreds of miles, never skipped a beat. Not only skipped a beat with the business, kids are in school, Jeff, her husband's got a job. I mean, like everything just slip right in, all because of what she teaches others to do. And I love what she says. So now think about productivity. You think about it as doing more stuff in less time, right? Being more efficient. And she says, no, that's not the way to look at it. You look at it as doing less stuff, right? More important, more impactful stuff, and live more and breathe easier. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm just even saying the words makes me calm down a little bit. So thanks for being here, Lisa. This is awesome. We haven't done this before, so this is great.
Oh, thanks, Howie. I am so delighted. As you said, we go way back,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to connect with you in
Yeah.
this new iteration, and really appreciative of the invite.
Yeah. It's really going to be really fun. So tell us about way back when, right,
Yeah.
when you were doing home organizing or productivity. How did all that come about? What was that epiphany moment that kind of got you started?
Actually, the step before that was after, we got married and we started our family, we also moved my mom in with us. So I am a caregiver from way back and in a next iteration of caregiving as well. But back then I cared for my mom and had my two little ones. And so I lived and breathed survival mode. And I got through it, and it was a tough time. I mean, it was a blessing to give back to her, and I'm so grateful for everyone who was there for me, but it was a hard time. And anyone who has stepped into a caregiving role, anyone who's done parenting,
Right.
you know how much that takes from you. And when I had the chance to kind of step out of that and say, what's next? Instinctively, I wanted to be like, okay, well, now I need to get a job, or I need to, what do I need to do? And there was this little voice inside. And I'm so grateful for that voice that said, wait a minute. Oh, take a moment, take a breath, clear a path. And I started to clear a path. I mean, there was stuff that was stacked up that I hadn't dealt with. I mean, paperwork and just all kinds of things physically, but also I hadn't taken a moment for me.
Yeah.
And really, it was decluttering my life inside and out. That was a true aha moment. I walked away with some huge life lessons at what I consider a relatively young age. And I was like, oh, you talk about not sweating the small stuff. It's all small
All
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
What are we doing here? And
Yeah.
there's a phrase I use, and I've said it to you before, when life doesn't add up, start subtracting. And
Yeah, that's right.
that's
There you
that,
go.
right? That's what I learned. It was like, wait a minute, step back, clear a path, stop trying to add things, remove what isn't necessary, and get that clarity, and make space for what matters.
Yeah,
And that's
right.
really a big mantra of mine. And so once I started to do that, and I could see the difference. I could see the difference in my stress levels, my health levels. I could see the difference in my family and how we interacted. And I thought, oh, I'm onto something here. And I started talking to other people about it. And they're like, I want that too.
Yeah.
So I was like, I will help you. And I stepped in as a professional organizer. And so that's really when the official professional organizing started.
Started.
Yeah, and that was tangible, right? Because and that's one takeaway right today that you can do if you're like, "Oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed." Find a place to declutter in your life, anywhere that you could just open up some space. Well, when I did that and then wanted to help others do that, I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. This is the head and the heart that's really causing all of this. Clutter affects and reflects, right? What's
It's an
inside."
idea.
So then I'm thinking, if we can get to the inside first, if we can get to the heart of the matter, if we can get to our brains and figure out how we work best, what's going on, clear the space, we're going to cut it off at the pass and make it longer lasting and more efficient. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Is that the Marie Kondo kind of stuff? Just does it give you what's left over gives you joy, or is it something like that?
I think it's what
And
it's
from the inside, I mean, right? So,
Yeah. Well, the spark joy is what I call a filter. And she brought a lot to the table in terms of the conversation of saying, "Hey, let's talk about what brings you joy." So I love that she brought that conversation about. I probably subscribe more to Greg McKeown's essentialism, which is less but better, right?
oh, so
Right, that
what does that mean?
idea.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, it means if you think about what it sounds like, it's like, okay, it's not quantity, it's quality.
Quality. Ah, so
Yeah,
joy
it's
and quality are, I guess, not the same, similar.
no, they can be,
Oh, okay.
and absolutely. And so, but maybe it's more than just joy. Maybe it's
Ah,
also, I work in a positive psychology kind of realm here. I have a certification in that and stress management because we forget how much is connected to being truly productive and what
mm,
true productivity is. As I said and as you described, it's about doing less, but how is that going to play out? Well, it's going to play out by understanding truly who we are, our personalities, our core values. It's going to be understanding our strengths and playing to them.
mm,
And that can be going against what society expects, what our family expects. It can be challenging. And that's where my coaching comes into play
yeah,
probably most, is
yeah.
figuring that out and then figuring out how to implement that, especially when it feels counterintuitive based on everyone else watching what you're doing, meaning well, but still, sometimes they wonder.
They're not in right. They're not in your head, and
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
and it's also like the part about you being accountable. It's one thing I can read a book on productivity, whatever, right?
Yes.
But if nobody's going to kick me in the butt to do the stuff, like I'll, don't do it tomorrow, right? So, right,
That is a big, big part of it. And also, too, accountability, it's not just about, okay, I'm showing up for you and for the session. And it is true that sometimes just having an appointment, right? The minute you decide something, you have an appointment, you book something,
mm-hmm.
right? The minute that action is taken, your mind is going, "Oh, okay, all right, we got to," your brain's like kicked into gear. Like, we got
Yeah,
to work
sure,
on this. It's like
sure.
it brings it top of mind. That's a beautiful thing. The other thing is that in accountability sessions, it is strategic as well. So you can be talking about the problems, the hurdles, the stuff where you're like, "I'm trying this and it's not working. Why?" And then we get into that and we figure out, okay, case in point, we have tasks that aren't getting done. And in my session yesterday, it was like, "Well, tell me why." But you have to go deeper than just that first why, because the first why is probably going to be
It's
like,
pretty
"I don't have
superficial.
time,"
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm like, "No, why?" Well, then we started digging deeper, and my client was like, "Oh, well, in this case, it's fear. It's fear of like not doing it right." Aha,
Uh-huh.
okay. And then another one was, "Well, my mom taught me that, you need to work hard and that this is good for you and you should be outside." And it's like, yeah, but you have a full life to the point that maybe it's okay for someone else to rake your leaves. It's like it's
Yeah,
getting over some of these family of origin stories, the beliefs, limiting beliefs that we tell
sure, sure.
ourselves, all of these things. That's a big part of the accountability because you're processing it. You're not only
It's
showing up for yourself, but you're processing it.
thing is,
And yeah,
it stays around in your head continually, whether you're doing anything related to that thing
yes.
or not.
Yeah. And that can be good. And that can also, I don't like good and bad. I like it can serve you and it can not
Not
serve
serve
you.
you. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
There
So
you go.
let's get the stuff in there that can serve
Serve
you and
you.
then let it keep working.
And that's all. Only things can serve you. And Everything else out.
That's right.
Everything.
Declutter that stuff.
There you go. Get the dumpster ready. That's what
Yes.
so tell us a couple of, besides that, any other like success stories. You have your own success story. I mean, you are a success story because of what you've done, right? So
Yes, I'm not only owner, I'm a client. No.
there you go. Exactly. And you have some clients who, some stories about them and how they've succeeded and how you've helped them.
Absolutely. One of my first productivity clients actually developed it was a company that was a physical location that provided wellness to the community. And when
Okay.
we first started working together, that hadn't even happened yet, but she had all of these ideas. And the people that I work with, I call multi-passionates. You may have heard of them as, well, multi-potentialites is kind of a new one, but
Oh,
polymath, like Da
why not?
Vinci. Da Vinci was a polymath. He loved so many different things, right? He was a military strategist, and he painted the Mona Lisa, and he was an architect, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and unapologetically, well, those are my people, the ones who are like, I have so many ideas. And if you told me I had to stop what I'm doing right now, I got a list a mile long, ready to go. No worries. So the way she described it was that, her brain was just completely overwhelmed. And I came in and calmed the storm, and we made sense of all the stuff that was going on. And there is decluttering involved. It's like, okay, here are some ideas that need to move to the side. This is what you need to focus on. This is what you need to prioritize. And here's how we take those steps. We break them down into the habits, right? The
Yeah, right. That's
daily
right. That's right.
achievements, right? You have to break it down and keep moving and keep being consistent. And she developed an entire wellness center in the community, successful for years, and is now selling it off. And that's just one of them. I have a client currently who has completely shifted his focus. He is a highly successful business person. And that part wasn't the issue. The issue was that he wanted to be successful in business and still have a connection to his family. He
Mm.
wanted his children to know
You
him.
mean he
He wanted
wanted
to
it all? Oh my gosh.
Yes, he
Okay,
wanted it
oh my God.
all,
Yeah.
right? You can have it all, just don't do it all.
No, there you go. Exactly right.
So, and that's how you can do it, if you do less and you find the right things to do. There is productivity in terms of like the traditional techniques involved, like the 80-20 principles and things like that. But first and foremost, you have to know who you are, how you work best, and what it is you truly want, and be honest about it.
And how many people don't, first of all, don't know the answers at all.
Right.
Right. And you draw that out of people. Is there somebody has thought they were going down one path, but you had them realize or have that epiphany for them
Yes.
that they're on? Yeah.
Yeah, there was another professional organizer that I worked with who came to me because I understood the industry and said, I love what you're doing in productivity and I would like to go there. And I said, I would be delighted. I will coach you and I will share everything that I've done freely as your coach.
Yeah.
But the only caveat is you cannot do exactly what I do, not because it's a competition, but because we don't know if that's right for you. You have to figure out if it is right for you, then go ahead, do what I'm doing. But the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because I know it's right for me. I know it's my zone of genius. What do you want to do? It turns out she loved the concierge side of it. She loved doing services for people. And now she runs a business and tech, like a VA, a virtual assistant agency.
Wow. Helping other people, right? That sounds
yeah.
great.
And so we do distinctly different things, and now we actually collaborate and refer to each other quite a bit. So it's a huge success, and it really fits who she is and what she does. And she's awesome.
Yeah, very good. So that's I can see that being a challenge if however old somebody is, whatever age they're at, right? They've gone down one path for decades, maybe.
Yeah.
And don't realize they're on the wrong path until they.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, life changes. That's another thing that happens. And clutter is always connected to big life transitions, right? When something big happens and then suddenly you're like, wait a minute, what I was doing before was working, but now it's not.
No, it's not. Oh.
And the first instinct everyone seems to have is, what am I doing wrong? It's not you. It's like, make sure that it's still a match, that what you're doing and who you are, what your bandwidth is. I mean, we have our limits. I work with so many people who feel frustrated and feel like something's wrong with them because Society loves to create these systems and productivity, advice, right, for singular focus people, people who aren't
Oh,
like having a couple of side hustles and a
yeah,
day
yeah, yeah,
job
yeah,
and the family.
yeah.
People who feel frustrated because they're like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, the only thing wrong is that you haven't found your
Your
match
match.
yet to make things happen.
Cool. Very good. Very good. So this is holiday time.
Yeah.
Stress out the right all over the place. We're gonna get a couple of tips people can focus on. What do you think we can?
Yes, like this is the time to lean in even more to doing less.
Yes.
So, for right now, I mean, the first thing I would say is the minute you feel inclined to say yes to something, I
Ah.
want you to pause.
Ah.
If you cannot say yes to anything more for the rest of the year, that would be fabulous. But if you were like, oh, but Lisa, I'm such a giver, I love to say yes. Here's my tip. Here's a phrase that you can use across the board, no matter who
Okay.
you are, no matter what's asked.
Okay. Pay attention, everybody. Here we
Okay,
go.
ready? All right. When someone asks you to do something, you say, let me get back to you.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
That's it.
You didn't say
No,
no. You
you
didn't
didn't
say
say
yes.
yes. You didn't say yes.
Let me get back to you. And here's why you need to have a pause so that you can reflect and you can decide. If you say yes to that, you are going to say no to other things. What are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? You can then go back and say, is this what you're asking me to do? You can negotiate. I know you wanted me to write this for you, but I can't do it by Friday, but I could do it 2 weeks from now. Would that work? You can go back and forth with them. You can say, you can say something nice by email. If you're like, if it's really hard for you to say no in person, you could be like, thanks so much for thinking of me. Ask me next time. Don't say that if you don't really mean that.
Yeah.
You can get clarification on your end, on their end, and figure out truly what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to. To me, that's one of the biggest things. Give yourself the space to make intentional, and I almost wanted to use the word safe decisions, but what I really mean is decisions that keep your wellness in mind.
That's right. Right. And without regrets later on. There you go, right?
Exactly. When it's intentional and you're like, no, this is going to be hard for me, but it means so much. It fits my values and it's going to be a push and it's going to be a challenge, but I'm okay with it. Then you can reframe it and you can say, okay, I'm going to do this. And then right after I'll recover, but it's an intentional choice. And then when it is, you don't feel the regret. And then maybe you go, okay, so I don't do that so much next time, but it was worth it. That's what you want to feel in the end, is that it was worth it. And unfortunately, so many times we don't feel that way. So that's why I highly encourage the pause.
Very good. And stuff comes out of the blue. Yeah. Family issues that you really can't say no to. You're going to have to.
Exactly. That's why you want to keep buffer space. So that's a good point. And that's like a tip number 2, which is a huge thing that I do with my clients, is to say, you think it's going to take this long. You have to it's like the whole construction projects.
That's right.
You want to like double the time and triple the budget or whatever, it's
exactly.
Right. Well, every time you create a task, especially around the holiday season, when there are more people, there's more traffic, everything, give yourself extra buffer time, say yes to fewer things that you can, and keep the stuff that's really important, even decorating. If you are under extra stress this year, think about, this is where I love the 80-20 approach. Okay. 80% of your results can come from a mere 20% of your efforts. It's the Pareto principle, right?
Yep.
You can apply that to anywhere in your life. For example, you can 80-20 your Christmas decorations. You're like, listen, we got to have the Christmas tree up. Let's say if you're celebrating Christmas, or you're celebrating Hanukkah, and you're like, okay, obviously we have the menorah, and we have this one particular garland that we love, and these family photos. And when that's up, it feels like the holiday. Or for me, lights. I have to have lights. Everything else, figurines or whatever, lights and candy canes, maybe some chocolate. You know what I mean? It's like, think about like what really would get you to feel the feelings that you want to feel, or get you to that moment. That's 80-20ing. And the rest of it you can let go of, because all that becomes then is busy work. Make sense?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I mean, what's really, of the bazillions of decorations, what's
Right.
what's the most meaningful, and then
Yes. Yeah,
right, right, right.
exactly.
And then donate the rest. Donate the rest of it,
Yeah, that is an
you know?
opportunity actually when you have everything out and you're
Yeah.
decorating. That is a fantastic opportunity each season to find the things that you're like, okay, I did that 80/20 thing again that Lisa
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah.
And this set of decorations here we haven't brought out for like 3, 5
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Okay. It gives you the data you need to move forward and
Does that
even
just,
reduce your collection.
yeah. So, okay, let's keep going a couple of years.
Yeah.
Every year you're chopping 20% off.
Yeah.
In a couple of years, you got like a little plastic Christmas tree by the time you're done.
Hey, listen, if that makes you happy and you're like,
Right. Who are
for
we?
me, like even Christmas cookies, for example, that's what we celebrate. And so we have cookies. You know what? We do chocolate dipped pretzels now because those are lovely gifts and very simple.
Yep.
And then we do sugar cookies and gingerbread.
Oh,
That's it.
that's enough. Yeah.
And it's enough and it's wonderful. And then for my son would be like, Mom, you're forgetting one important 80/20 part of this, and that would be fudge. I don't consider
Oh,
that cookies, so I wasn't thinking
okay,
of
all
it,
right.
but it's an easy, quick fudge that I do,
Sure,
and he
sure,
loves
sure.
that. But there you
Well,
go. I mean,
that's great.
otherwise, there's plenty.
Those are great tips to think about. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
But those are the
Well,
things that make us feel like it's the holidays,
yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And for my wife and I, we don't decorate anything for any holiday. It's just a pain in the neck. so,
There you go. There.
we're not missing anything because we never did anything. And
Well, there you go.
yeah, so we're fine.
And but that is to the point. This is exactly how I coach,
Yeah.
and this is exactly what gets you where you want to go, is to say, these are my rules. I get to make the rules. How amazing is that? And if you're not missing something out of it, then don't do it, no matter how much they out there, whoever they are, is telling you to do it.
There you go. Cool, cool. Okay. So where does positively living and all the other coaching and all that stuff move forward in the next 3, 5, 10 years? What are you up to?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so exciting. I mean, I started the podcast in June 2020. You know, it was a pandemic podcast, and it was like me jumping in and saying, I could do this. But what's funny is that I started it because it was a natural inclination for me, and because I was also productively procrastinating writing books.
Oh.
So books are next. I have a couple of books in mind
cool.
on decluttering and specifically productivity for multi-passionates.
Uh-huh.
And my husband has said, I really need to get merchandise for very specifically for my mantra, the do less, live more, breathe easier.
Yeah.
And he's right about that. I'm not big on like clutter, but I am big on inspiration. So if this can be a good reminder, then I'm here for it. And then other than that, I would say I'll probably continue along the lines of workshops, because it's important for me and along my personal values to make sure that what I teach, what I coach is accessible to everyone in some fashion. I have a lot of free resources for a reason, because not everyone has the budget, you know, to get one-on-one coaching, but there's a lot of different ways that you can be inspired and move forward. So I want to keep expanding that.
There you go. And the more people you can help, the more people that get helped, right? And the more,
yeah.
So this has really been awesome, Lisa. I really appreciate you kind of being on the show. So just for everybody out there, if you know someone who is as awesome as Lisa, I mean, how many people could be more awesome? That's for sure. Nobody. And so if you know someone we should bring on to Howie's Hometown Heroes, contact me, put their name in the comments, something like that. And just remember that whether it's your family, your organization, or your business, remember, it's money that makes those gears turning. Make sure your money is working the most optimal way it can. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Howie. My pleasure.